Shabbat Shalom, everybody. This is Rashbi, Rabbi Ravi Shmuel Ben Yehoshua. That's my Hebrew name. Rabbi Stephen Epstein with you for this week's 10-minute Torah. I thought, there's a lot of people that have like one name names, and I kind of like the handle Rashbi. It sounds kind of neat, and not that I'm trying to put myself up there with the rest of the sages like Rambam and Rashi and all those other people, but it is what it is. So Shabbat Shalom, hope things are going well. Just finished Passover. We're in the throes of counting the Omer now. And I always have an issue with the period of time of counting the Omer, and I'll tell you why. The reason we do that, and everybody, according to the Torah mitzvah, we should be counting each person for him or herself. And after the second day of Passover, we count the 49 days, and on the 50th day, behold, Shavuot. Shavuot also has the dual purpose of being the spring harvest, the barley, it's the first, and it's also when Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, our teacher, went up to Mount Sinai and got the first of all our mitzvot, the 10 Commandments, considered to be the basis of our law. And of course, the other 603 some people feel are part of that, just kind of extensions of those main 10. So the idea today is that it is a period of semi-mourning because we don't have a temple. And it's just the type of thing where we wish there was one, okay? Now, for me, I kind of have an issue with that because to me, we're in a good place. Jews are in a good place. We have Israel, we are thriving, we are succeeding, and things are good. Now, you probably have an expression on your face going, what are you, nuts? With all the anti-Semitism, and I, quite frankly, I don't even use that word anymore. I just call it Jew hating because that's really what it is. We had this thing called cancel culture up for a while ago, which is where you have to respect people. Certain words that are considered to be denigrating are no longer allowed. And yet people keep calling us genocidal people. They say, oh, gee, there's going to be another Holocaust. Hitler was right, all those horrible things. And for some reason, cancel culture doesn't seem to apply to us. The good news is that it's bringing it to everybody's attention, how these people are demeaning us. Now, you might look at us and say, well, Jews have an advantage. I don't know that we do. They say that we're not really a minority because you can't distinguish us by the color of our skin or by certain facial features, the Jew fro and the big nose, stereotypes notwithstanding. However, we have overcome. And we said never again after the end of World War II, after the Holocaust, and now we mean it. We're standing up for ourselves. So in a way, that's good. To me, it's a positive, right? As crazy as it sounds, because I believe that it's going to work out, okay? So let's leave that there, and let's talk about this week's portion, Emor. So Emor talks about the priestly duties. Also talks about, it's another enumeration of the holidays. So I always like to look at a portion in terms of its context and the flow of the verses and where they go. So you almost kind of have to wonder about the book of Leviticus. It's almost archaic because there's no temple. Basically, all the priests and the Levites do today is have the first aliyah during a Torah reading, and the Levites have the second one. And in our synagogue, we have Kohanim that come up and do what's called duchenim. Duchenim means stage or platform, and they come up and do a very special priestly blessing during the Musaf service, and it's really kind of beautiful and it's very meaningful, and it's just very, very special. Other than that, what do priests do today? There's no temple, so it's really we rabbis that officiate for all life cycle events and things. We don't do any offerings. Instead, we offer prayers. And, it's kind of my job as the rabbi to officiate and facilitate that. So why do we even bother with the Torah? Good question. A lot of people say, well, the temple will be rebuilt. We will have our third temple. A lot of people feel it's not going to happen until the Messiah comes. And at that time, we are going to reinstitute the sacrifices. So it's very important that the priests know what they're doing. And we know which priests are going to officiate, because quite frankly, in this portion, it lays out some qualifications and some disqualifications for priests. A priest has to be basically, for lack of a better word, intact, looking presentable. If the priest has a deformity or some other such disqualification, then they don't get to officiate or participate in the actual offerings. Yes, they get to have the teruma, which is the food that's donated for the Kohanim. If somebody comes and makes an offering and everybody sits down for a feast, then yes, a priest who has a blemish or some type of physical deformity is entitled to sit down and join with everybody else. Is there a lesson today for that? And I will state the obvious, that when you walk into a sanctuary, it's important to be presentable in that way. So one of the things I do, and I know some rabbis and cantors are a little bit more liberal in their dress, let's say. I pretty much shirt and tie, jacket. That's kind of because I need to set an example. Quite frankly, I kind of like dressing like this. I kind of like the way I look, which is a very much departure from my youth when I was wearing ripped jeans before they were fashionable. But, we need to set an example. We rabbis are the priests of today, or we've taken on that role without a main temple. So we have to be presentable and we have to set an example. And I believe that this is one of the lessons today when we talk about what was going on 3,500 years ago. The other part of it of our portion discusses or gives us a calendar, if you will, throughout the course of the year of the various festivals. They do not discuss the new moon, which it is, because it's not really a festival. It's really kind of a demarcation. The new moon was very important because it basically told us where we are in our trip around the year and in our meetings with Hashem. So the priests need to have a certain aura, let's say, in order to officiate for all these holidays. They need to be presentable. They need to have that appearance, that priestly appearance, right? Why does it talk about the various garments that the high priest and then the other priests have to wear, to distinguish them as priests, as important people? Now, remember, in Judaism, okay, everyone has the same relationship with God, everyone. The difference between the priests and the Levites and the rest of Israel is that they are trained to officiate. Same thing with rabbis, okay? As some of you have been coming to services, notice that in recent weeks and months, I'm not the only one usually, or, some kind of half and half. I'm not the only one that's doing the service. I have other people come up and do parts of service. They do this in very traditional synagogues. I think one of the reasons they do that, not only just to get a group participation and maybe have other people that can fill in, but, people are not supposed to work on Shabbat. If I'm paid to be a rabbi and I'm up there doing the services, I'm technically working on Shabbat, aren't I? So this way, we have people come up. And I also believe in that when people come up and lead part of the service, it's kind of an empowerment for them. Same thing with the B'nai Mitzvah. I have seen kids reach their bat mitzvah, come up, do their reading, do their haftarah and their prayers, and that kid changes to become a young adult. You see a personality change. You see a maturation, right? Because they've really gone ahead and done something that I think is spectacular, learning a foreign language, chanting it in front of people, preparing for the year or so that they do. It's a really beautiful ceremony. So the idea with Judaism is that we officiate and facilitate the relationship between people and God. And that's kind of what this portion discusses. The idea that the priests officiate. We have the various meeting times. That's kind of what Moadim, it means seeds, but it's meeting times with Hashem throughout the course of the year. And, this is kind of what we do, right? Okay. Thank you very much for listening. Appreciate it. Keep the faith, right? And be Jewish. Be Jewish. There are people on our side. Most of America believes that Israel is doing the right thing. And we will get through this. Shabbat Shalom.